So I went to Bali, and that was the kind of beginning of my, what I now call breakthrough, where I really learnt what self-love was. I don't think I'd ever really before then looked at myself in the mirror and said, I love you. Gosh, you're beautiful. Look at you. I love you. You're my best friend.
I'm very happy to be bringing you this episode with Carmella Sternberg, where we talk about her incredible journey from her fast-growing events business to realizing that what might look like the perfect life from the outside wasn't making her happy. She didn't have her freedom. She shares how she uncovered what matters to her and who she wanted to become, which led to her new business, which supports others who need a change in their life too. You're listening to Going Conscious, the podcast where we discover new ways to live a more conscious life of fulfillment and freedom. Each week, I speak with entrepreneurs, academics, and changemakers who have gone through big changes, left unfulfilling lives behind, and found meaning in this new world where purpose drives success. Let's get inspired to transform and unleash our unique journeys to the fullest. Let's explore the impact we want to make, challenge how we view our environments, and deepen our understanding of ourselves and this beautiful world around us. Live your freedom. I'm your host, Nikki Trott. In this episode, we talk about finding self-love, the path to living a more conscious life, and how Carmella found her freedom. Freedom to become and create what she wants without limits. We talk about the magic that is produced when you foster love amongst your team, taking radical responsibility for the power you have to change things in your life, and how not only her business, but her partnership and family connection have become more conscious too. Now, let's get to our conversation. Hi, Carmella. Welcome to Going Conscious.
Hi, Nikki. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I'm really excited to speak to you today, knowing your journey and how you've moved into a more conscious business and life. But first, I thought I should start with a quick summary. So I know that you have moved from running Hip Hop Brunch, your events company, to creating Mamma Wellbeing, where you're really focusing on bringing well-being and health and happiness to a wider audience. So perhaps we could start by you just giving us a quick summary of what you're doing in your words.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also super excited to be here, so thank you again. So Mamma Wellbeing is an online platform which really supports people to find the well-being that they need or are looking for. And this is done in a number of different ways. So there are events on there. You can find practitioners to book one-on-one sessions or have classes with them. We also have a TV room where you can find pre-recorded wellbeing classes. And it is very holistic. So we have things spanning from mind, body, spirit, motivational. So really what we want to do with Mamma Wellbeing is really have this kind of hub for everything wellbeing, where you can find incredible curated classes, etc., practitioners, and learn more about holistic wellbeing.
Amazing. And so what took you on a more conscious path then from what you were doing before?
So I absolutely loved events and hospitality, and I spent a lot of my adult life dabbling in that. So even when I had my normal job, I would always work in a pub or in a club, and I really loved to party. And I guess that kind of culminated in this business, Hip Hop London, which had loads of brunch parties, and it meant it was a really incredible time in my life. Lots of fun, exciting days and parties and lots of meeting new people. But I guess there comes a point where partying takes its toll. And that kind of happened to me around 2015 when I really needed to take a break. And I knew that. I didn't know quite why, but I just knew that it was kind of taking its toll. So the business was doing really well, and I just kind of left and up to Asia. And whilst I was there, I kind of just carried on like I was on a kind of gap year, going out partying, enjoying, seeing places. And a few weeks into this trip, I had this kind of, I guess I would have called it at the time, a mental breakdown. And this kind of led to me realizing that just everything changed in my life in that week, where I just realized that things weren't as they seemed. I wasn't really happy with my life, even though I seemed to have everything that someone would want at 29, a business, a partner, a home, a quite glamorous lifestyle and freedom in many ways. But yeah, I felt so unfree. And the main thing that really got me to realize that was this kind of toxic relationship that I was in and the patterns that I was doing. So it wasn't even about him. It was just about me. Like, why am I redoing these patterns again and again? And that was when I wanted to look up past life regression, because I couldn't understand it in this life. But I thought perhaps in a past life, maybe this could explain it. I mean, I didn't even know if I believed in it, but I just was kind of clutching at straws at the time. And I found that it was Bali, where I needed to go to find these practitioners who could support me. So I went to Bali, and that was the kind of beginning of my, what I now call breakthrough, where I really learned what self-love was. I don't think I'd ever really before then looked at myself in the mirror and said, I love you. Gosh, you're beautiful. Look at you. I love you. You're my best friend. But this is what started to happen after just a few weeks in Bali and working with the practitioners there, the holistic practitioners, the yoga teachers. And yeah, it was after a few weeks there that I realized, my gosh, I was changing so much as a person, what mattered to me, what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be, who I wanted to become. And I really wanted to support other people who were in my position in the UK and other places in the world who really needed change in their life. And so that's where Mamma Wellbeing started. It started off as being like an idea for retreats in London to bring Balinese healers to the UK. And then I started to realize, my goodness, there are already practitioners in the UK doing these incredible things, but nobody's talking about them. These people are rock stars. They're amazing. Everyone needs to know about them. People need to know about these therapies. And so we realized that actually this needed to be an online platform where people could find and book the well-being that they needed in the UK. Does that answer your question?
It does. It does. Yeah. So it was really a personal journey then that you were on, which then brought you to what you're doing and the change that you made in your career and your business life.
Definitely. It wasn't, I think maybe some people just suddenly decide that they want to do a conscious business, or, they get this kind of like download. Oh my goodness, this is what I need to do. I want to save the planet. But it wasn't really like that for me. It was more, wow, I was unwell. I really was. I was depressed and anxious and low, and I couldn't be happy even if everything was going seemingly well. So when I had got better, when I felt better, it suddenly just became apparent that, of course, I needed to support other people who were in my position to get better. So, and then that started the journey of, wow, how can I do that? How can I become the person who can really, with my full heart, open my heart up to these other people who also need support? And that was the beginning of my journey.
So how did you go from realizing you wanted to help other people also to heal to then coming up with the idea for Mamma Wellbeing?
It was simple as, I just need people to find out about this. How do people not know about meditation? How, yoga was already big. This was about 4 years ago, but meditation wasn't big. And, craniosacral therapy or body works. I'd never heard of a lot of these things. Breathworks. I did my first breathworks 4 years ago, and my God, it was mind blowing. And the main thing was, oh my goodness, people need to know about this. I don't know how, but they just need to find out about this. And these people who are incredible need to be kind of put all over the internet or, plastered everywhere, because they're amazing. And the work they're doing is incredible. So it really was just from then, it was like a real kind of slow burning. So my first desire was, how can we get this to people who can't afford it? So it started off actually as like a kind of maybe a kind of charity. The thoughts behind it. And that still is a massive drive of Mama, is how can we support people with these therapies that can't access it? And then it was like, gosh, everybody, it's not just people that can't afford it, but everybody could do with better access to this. So it, as I say, it went from being a retreats kind of center idea to being an online platform where we can really advertise this and explain these therapies to many, many more people.
So what does personal success look like to you now? And how has this changed?
It's changed so massively. Personal success to me before, I think I was just in that rat race of like, be more successful, get more awards, have a more successful business with lots of money and more employees and etc., bigger house. And that completely changed after this breakthrough to how can I support more people? It literally just flipped. It was like, the more people that I can support to feel this massive shift that I've managed to feel, that became my kind of beacon for success. And then since then, of course, there's been a massive journey on that. So now, for example, how I see success in my business, we have a small team at the moment of 5. And I see success when my team is happy, when my team is excited, when my team feel like they've learned something new. And so when my business partner feels super empowered and she says to me, wow, since from 3 months ago to now, I feel a lot more confident. I feel a lot more part of the project. I feel that the project is kind of growing its own feet and walking on its own. And when I hear these things, this is what feels like success to me now. And when my team feels comfortable to talk to me and to the rest of the team about how they're feeling, about their feelings of insecurity, this also feels like success. And that would have been the complete opposite. Me 5 years ago, I'd have been like, my gosh, this isn't helping production. This isn't helping us move forwards. Whereas now I know all of those things are massively moving everything forwards. And when everybody's feeling great and when everybody's feeling really held and heard, and there's a real alignment and a feeling of love amongst the team, actually what's produced is magic. So yeah, it's changed very significantly.
Have you got any examples of how that magic can manifest? It sounds like a beautiful place to work.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can't think of an exact example, but I can think of something that happens quite a lot, which is that we have this idea that we must all work every day, 4 to 5 days a week for a certain period of hours. And the way that we work is that our hours can be spread whenever we like. We can move our hours from one day to another. If we're not feeling it one day, we just say, sorry, we're not feeling it. Even if there's an important meeting, perhaps it's just not the right day to do it. And so really working around our team as opposed to making these kind of other things outside of that the most important, when actually what's most important is the team. So, for example, we might have today a meeting with our web developer, but one of the team is feeling really, really low, or 2 of the team members are feeling really, really low and, aren't really feeling like that's something that they are prepared to do. We will try and renegotiate that meeting, because we know that if we're all feeling boom, or if if the majority of us are feeling really amazing, then that meeting is going to be 20 times better. So whilst it might feel counterintuitive to production, it really isn't. And it works for everybody involved, because, we come in with a different energy, which then supports the, let's say, web developer to come in with a different energy. So yeah, it's really, I feel like, if you can look at your team members and see them really as people that you love and care about, and you can put their well-being first, you're gonna be creating something very, very different.
So what does success look like to your team then, do you think?
Well, that's a really good question. We do ask them a lot. We all have our 1 year, 5 year plans, and both regarding our careers, but also around surrounding our personal lives, because of course they're all completely linked. You can't have one and not the other and think that they're separate. So of course all of their ideas of success are slightly different, but I guess it's the that feeling of, wow, I can go to work and I can be joyous and I can be excited and I can feel free and I can be seen as a person and I can say, I don't feel great today, guys. Actually, I'm going to take the day off without feeling judged. And I can create my own wealth by saying, actually, I'd like to take Fridays off so that I can start my own little business, which is actually what one of our team members asked. And of course, my business partner and I are over the moon, because the more creative and excited she is about her life, that also ripples into Mama. So I feel like success on a whole would be for the team is freedom, joy, having friendship amongst colleagues, being heard, being well and being encouraged to be well, and be encouraged to be putting your well-being first. And of course, creating something that's really yours, something that's coming from inside you. And what we love to do is really, and we have invited our team to feel into how they would like to add their own creativity onto Mama, have their own little offshoot or something that they want to bring in, which is coming from their heart. And I feel that's kind of what Mama's going to be all about, is people infusing what they love and their heart's essence into the brand. And I'm really excited for that.
Beautiful, bringing their own heart's essence in. I love that. And you've mentioned freedom a few times there, which strikes me because freedom is my most important driving value in my life, in my business, in everything. And with my partner together, and how we choose to be nomads and work for ourselves and help others in ways that we can without reducing our flexibility. And I'm just wondering what freedom means to you.
Gosh, freedom is everything. And well, freedom to me is the freedom every day to wake up and listen to myself, listen to what my body would like to do, listen to what my heart would like to do, and not feel that there's something I have to do regardless. And that's not only when I wake up in the morning, but generally on a bigger scale. My life is it feels free. And I suppose it's something that I've created for myself. Maybe someone else might look at my life and think, well, she's not very free, but she's got this. But for me, freedom is, freedom of where I want to live, for example. So just like you, I don't feel like I'd like to be shackled in one place. So I really love the idea of kind of seeing the world and living in different places. And then there's freedom of, how I'd like to use my body. Would I like to go and run? Would I like to do yoga? Would I like to actually lay in bed all day? And feeling like all of those options are available to me if that's what's needed for my body. And then freedom of mind as well. So meditation gave me this freedom from my mind and anxiety and all these other things when your mind kind of takes over. So for me, being able to go out of mind, which I get through meditation and breath works and other ways too, is for me real freedom, because you're able to kind of see yourself outside of your body and your situation at that moment. And I guess what happened to me in my breakdown, whatever you like to call it, was that kind of coming outside of my body and seeing myself, not actually literally, but really just looking at the situation from a different space. So having the freedom to now do that when needed. Yeah, I think that's what freedom is to me. As I say, I feel super free. I feel like I can become who I want to become. I feel like I can create what I'd like to create. This isn't always, of course, there are times when I feel low and I feel like, gosh, I'm never going to be able to do anything. But the majority of the time, it's that freedom of mind where you can really think outside the box and think, gosh, I can really do and be who I'd like to be. And there's no limits to that. There's no boundaries I can through.
So when you talk about how you came out and kind of saw yourself from a different perspective as you went through your breakthrough, is there something specific which spurred that change in perspective?
Yes, there was. So my partner and I, as I said, I was in a quite toxic relationship. We'd had another fight. I was in Vietnam in the mountains with the Black Mongs, who are these incredible nomadic tribe. And I spent a couple of days kind of walking with them in the mountains. And then I decided to spend an extra day with one of the ladies that I really felt drawn to. And I heard her story. She told me about how her mother had passed and that that her older sister had to look after her whole life, and just the story of her family and then other families as well in the village. And hearing their stories and how far away it was from my story, but how happy she was and how free she was and just all the things that she could do. And I, in my situation, just felt so far away from that. And I felt like I had put the things that didn't really matter to the forefront of my life and was focusing too much on them. And I'd completely forgotten the important things in life. But I couldn't even at that point realize what those things were. It was just like, it was this feeling of like, oh my God, like just fear of, oh my goodness, I've completely gone down the wrong path. And that spurred on a lot of reading, a lot of like, what's going on here? What can I do? Fear and massive anxiety, panic. And and as I say, from there, I just knew I had to be in Bali. Bali was never in my plans, but I just knew that was a place I needed to be. And actually, I was completely right. In the first 3 days, I just felt so held there, like a mother, which is why we're called Mama, because it's that holding feeling of support, which I had never felt before. And with that support, I was able to go on this incredible self-love journey, which was the beginning of all of this, and living a conscious life.
Wow. Can you remember now what some of those things were which you had put to the forefront and now have reversed and put to the back, and what the new things are that you focus on?
Yeah, good question. Well, definitely the way that I looked at my business and the way I looked at money wasn't, I just wasn't healthy. And I think I was just quite an irritable, kind of wanting everything to be as I want it to be, controlling. That was it. I wanted to control my life rather than just see how it would unfold. And sometimes I still see that pop up, and I'm sure it does with most people, but pop up where I really want to control something. And then I go, no, I'm just going to see, because I can probably get more out of the situation if I just hold back, hold fire, and let it play out in front of me. And then if at the end I still feel like it's not quite right, then I can maybe say something. And actually, when you do that, oh my goodness, your life just opens up for you. Life opens up. And what else? Yeah, my relationship, kind of like not understanding how to have a positive relationship and what it took, and really allowing negative relationships to take over my life. So I spend a lot of energy pumping in this energy to negative situations, negative people, and in myself, of course, thinking negative thoughts, and putting a lot of energy into that rather than trying to look deeper and working out why it's all happening and why I'm having these feelings and what's really happening. So there was a kind of, I was a philosopher at university, and I've always been interested in philosophy, and I've always considered myself quite a deep person. And I think I must have realized that I was actually really shallow. And a lot of the stuff was actually very skin deep, and wasn't going anywhere near my heart. Maybe my heart was shut. So yeah, I really look at life very differently now, from a very different perspective. And the things that matter to me now are just so different. My experiences on a day-to-day, slowing down to really be able to hear what somebody's saying before wanting to just say back what I want to say, or really just feeling into what somebody else is transmitting, really feeling into what I'm transmitting. Before I used to it really mattered to me what it looked like I was thinking. So as long as I was very kind and loving on the surface, that was all that mattered, and even if I was seething inside, the showing of the kindness was what mattered, because everyone would see that. Whereas now it's not about that at all. It's every thought I have. If there's a negative thought, I will go into it and I will think it's not good enough for me to just be outwardly kind and be thinking something negative. So now I'll go in and think, oh, there's a thought, and that will be more important to me than the external things that are happening, because I really believe that my internal world creates that external world now, rather than probably in those days, I thought the external world would change my inner world, which of course it didn't.
So this focus from external to internal.
Yes, you got it.
And how has that transformed your life? It's a huge shift to have gone through.
Yeah, it has transformed everything. Everything. I'm living the life I could only have dreamt of. I mean, I could see that life then. I just couldn't see how to get there. But it's this thing of radical responsibility, taking real responsibility, which actually means that you have the kind of control over that situation. You're giving yourself back the control, which I'd really loved playing this victim, and my dad was mean to me, my boyfriend's mean to me, and I'm this angel kind of figure, and everyone's mean to me. And by taking everything back to me, I was giving myself the responsibility and the power to change things. So yeah, like I say, any situation that happens outside, I won't judge it on the outside. I'll judge it on how I feel about that outside. And then I'll look into that feeling, and I can transmute that external thing and change that external thing just by my own feelings of it. And that is just radical and exciting. And every day I feel like I'm in like a Harry Potter movie, because it's really magical that you can change your external from just changing your internal, and the way that you look at things and the way that you feel about things, and really sitting with those darker feelings that you might be ashamed of, or etc. But at the end of that comes such a beautiful light and such a beautiful understanding that it's really worth it. And it's completely changed my life. I now have a very conscious and beautiful partnership. As you know, I also have a conscious business where we really try and be conscious in the deeper sense of really feeling into what we're all feeling at the time, and how that's being externally projected to each other, to the project, and in, of course, other ways too. And my family situation, the way that I speak to my family, the way I am with my family, our connection is so much deeper, because there's there's much less, I wouldn't say there's no, but there's much less blame going outwards. And I can see things a lot clearer, both from things that happened in my childhood and even now. And I spend a lot of time with my family, especially through lockdown. And after lockdown, I was in the same city as them. And it was just really beautiful to see the change in our relationship, the deepening of our relationship, how we could talk to each other. It really opened up my voice, because as you're able to speak to your family, and as you allow yourself to open up to your family in a deeper way, your heart opens up to them, it really frees the voice, not only to them, but also to the outside world. So yeah, I really, that would probably, I would say, be the biggest change in me over the last 3 years.
And is there anything that you do practically to keep that perspective and to help you continue to see the world in this way and benefit from this transformation?
Yeah, I do a lot of things. Sometimes, of course, less and sometimes more, but I have loads of tools in the toolbox. I'd say the first thing is that I have people around me who also practice this. So my best friend and business partner, Annabelle, she is just such a light in my life, and I can't even say anything negative to her without immediately click. It's gone back into my head, and it's been I've realized what I've done, and I've realized that I've got to go in and think about it, feel into it. And the same with my partner. He's just so, it's just, I congratulate myself every day for having these people around me, because they really remind me. And you can fall off the wagon and start seeing things in that different way, and looking externally for answers. But yeah, I would say the first thing is having people around you who also practice this, and then also the practices that I shout about. So things like breath works, a very, very strong practice. Meditation, something I try and do every day. And if not the actual sitting down and meditating, slowing things down. So just really feeling inwards, or looking around me and actually taking note of what's around me, the energies, the lights, things like that. I do a lot of yoga, which also helps a lot. And sometimes the yoga goes into the meditation. And then every once in a while, I'll top up with another one-on-one session with one of my amazing life coaches. And then I do a lot of reading. So an ongoing book that I read or listen to is Gene Keys, which talks a lot about the shadow states and how you can move to gift. And then it talks about the city states as well. So it's a really incredible book of self-exploration. And it's got this incredible knack of always, like, because I just start pressing play wherever it is, and it always talks about something that's really relevant to what you're going through at that moment and some shadow state you're in. So it's like one of those, like, kind of, I don't know, it feels like a mother to me. It's like I if I'm feeling a bit low or something's going on, I'll just press play on it, and it will suddenly start talking about something that's really, really helpful. So yeah, it's an ongoing. I would say I do a lot less now than I did whilst I was going through this breakthrough. But I still, carry it on day by day. I'll do a practice of some sort. And of course, sometimes I just go deep into shadow for a day or two, and that's okay too. And then, there'll always be a point where I say, okay, it's time for me to go in now and work out what's going on.
And can you share who Gene Keys is by?
Yes, that's Richard Rudd. It's a really very big book. Have you heard of it?
I have. Yeah, I have looked into it. I'm just interested into what you have got from it.
Gosh, so much. I feel like it explains so much of when I go into feelings of, lower feelings or sad or angry feelings, that it can really not only give me some understanding into it, but also make it okay. And then on top of that, give me some understanding of how I can move into higher states, happier states, more accepting states, more loving states. So for me, it's just like a book to have by my side, like a very good and wise friend to support me to be, better and to become the person that I would love to become and that I'm becoming. And so it just feels like, he calls it a contemplation, which I love, because it's not like you read it and then you know everything and then you become it and then suddenly you're an angel with wings. It's a real lifelong contemplation of, yes, that does remind me of when I'm feeling low or when I'm feeling unhappy. And goodness, this does remind me of when I'm feeling, happier and stronger and more confident and more loving. And this is, and then, wow. And this is the highest state of that, to be completely open and completely accepting. And you can, as you start to read it and as you start to hear it, you can almost start to feel, then you can start to visualize yourself as that. And then you can actually move into that. And it feels like sometimes like a teacher with a little ruler hitting your hand, and you're like, oh my goodness, yes, I felt that I've been like that these last few days. I've been a bit jealous, or I've been a bit annoyed or blaming, or I've gone into those shadow states, and it just like, oh, damn it, I don't want to do that again. So I'm going to re-listen to this one and I'm going to remind myself. But it does it in it feels like such a loving manual. So it's been a real help to me. And what do you feel about it?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot to get from it, but I haven't gone through the book myself. So it's on my list. And I've listened to Richard Rudd on a couple of podcasts, and I have looked up my gene keys and felt some real resonance. And it's something that I'm close to diving into. So yeah, it's interesting to hear how you're using the book, because your description's just pushed it right to the top of my list.
Oh, fantastic. It's super exciting. We can have a little correspondence on that it's just one of those
I'd
things.
love to.
I have to laugh every time I turn on the audiobook, and it's just like, ta-da, this is what's happening, and you're like, oh my God, how do you know? It's just unbelievable.
And why do you think that is, that it seems so relevant every time?
Well, as you can probably tell from what I've said, I really believe in magic, and I really believe that there are just so many incredible things to learn from every situation. There can be a situation that just seems so bland and nothing's happening to one person, and to another person everything's happening. The lights changing in the room, the flies bouncing on the surface, but to another person it's just a room. And I feel that when I go on Gene Keys, there's a part of me inside of me that already knows how I'm feeling and that it's a low state and how to get to the next state. But hearing it just helps find it again, just does that little extra push. It's like a little help, like all of these practices are. We're only finding what's already inside us, and just reminding ourselves of it. So with meditation, same thing. We're not taking anything from anywhere else. It's just what's inside you, and we're clearing the space for that. And this book really supports you to do that.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah. And so I'm intrigued. I have to know, what does magic mean to you?
So magic is everything. And magic is in everything. I mean, I really realized, I think it was in September, that I read Harry Potter a lot as a child, but I feel like we're in a Harry Potter world, the law of attraction and other things. I never really was into law of attraction, but all of these things are true. You can really, as I say, change your inner states, and you can manifest. You can actually manifest something that wasn't there in your field before can come into your field like magic, just by going inwards and creating the space for it inside yourself. And so for me, that's magic. And also the change of perspective, that it's something that's so simple and so human that anyone can change a perspective. You can see in 4 different people different perspectives. So it's not something that is out there or woo-woo, but by changing your perspective on something, you can completely change the external reality of that thing moving forwards. So I have this gratefulness practice, and I think many people say, oh, gratefulness practice. I believe my gratefulness practice changes the situation. So when I go into something, let's say I was going into a difficult meeting with my father, for example, and we're having to talk about things that are, a bit annoying. And usually in those conversations, it gets, we get annoyed with each other. I go in and I say to myself again and again and again, I'm so grateful for this meeting being positive and having no bad feelings at the end of it. And I don't think it's ever failed me. If I've gone into a situation like that, I have left the situation with a positive feeling, experience, and an ending to it. So for me, that's magic. I can create whatever situation I want just by what's happening inside me, just by what I decide inside me.
Okay, so how do you use that then? I love the example of the meeting with your father. So is it about setting your mindset before certain events and visualizing what you want to happen so that you can then help to manifest that? Or in kind of practical details, how does that work?
So you're right that it's not as simple as just saying, I'm grateful for this. You have to go into that feeling of gratefulness. You have to imagine that it's already happened and you're leaving that situation and it's a happy one. And this may sound really weird because you're like, well, why would you go forwards and see? But actually what we do when we're imagining something bad is going to happen in something is that we actually start to visualize it or feel it in some way. So rather than visualizing or seeing it in a negative, the thing that we fear, we start to see it and visualize it in a way that we want it to be. So you have to actually go into that same feeling. And it's so much easier when it's a negative one because our fears come up so easily. But you can change that to, I'm so grateful for this meeting going well. I'm so grateful for my father leaving this meeting happy and, happy with the outcome, and me leaving happy with it. I'm so grateful for the love between us that felt in this meeting. And you have to really, I say you have to, I have to, the way that it works for me is that I go into that feeling and I walk into that room with the feeling that it's already going so well, that it's already happened, and I'm so, and then my actions, and that's what's beautiful, my actions align with that, and then I probably do create a happy feeling and and etc. So that's how it works for me. And the difficult part is actually going into that feeling of gratefulness and actually feeling those happy feelings, because when you're in fear and really scared about something going bad, and it's gone bad so many times before, and you just can't believe that it could go well, actually being able to imagine, visualize, and expect and be grateful for and put on a smile, a real deep smile, is very difficult. But if you can do it, it works.
Do you have any tips?
Well, they never taught you at school that your imagination was really important, but my gosh, it's the most important thing. So I would say, if you find it really difficult to do that, if you find it really difficult to go into your imagination in a positive way, perhaps the first thing is really trying harnessing your imagination, being able to go into imagination, and also meditation. There's meditation is a beautiful way to silence the mind and to start kind of visualizing. But also, I think everybody has imagination. It's just playing with it and practicing it. And if you take yourself to that place of stillness first, it will be a lot easier. If you can calm yourself down, when it might be jittery and anxious, and we're all there. We've all been there. Firstly, calming yourself down, and then starting to imagine all the beautiful things that can happen. Really see yourself in the room there with your father, and the smiling and the acceptance between the two of you. And really, body language is such a big thing. So you walk into that room with that feeling of peacefulness and that feeling of openness and softness. It will, start a series of events which are far more likely to lead you to a positive outcome.
Beautiful. Absolutely. I believe in the power of visualization so much. It's something I love to do when I take long walks, just to really feel into the result that you want to happen, and just, like you say, kind of living it before it does happen and feeling that joy. It really helps you to get there. So as we're coming to the end of our time, I wanted to ask you also about sort of well-being and consciousness in business, how you see that evolving.
Well, I see that we are at the beginning of a big change, and I feel like Corona is definitely helping it along, whereby businesses are really realizing, people generally, and therefore businesses, are becoming more conscious, but not conscious with inverted commas, really, conscious. People are starting to realize that life is short and that it's really important what we spend our time doing and the people that we spend our time with, and to care about people and people's health and people's happiness. I feel that within businesses, people are going to care more about the family unit and people's personal lives and people's health, and we'll support that more in the future. Obviously, that'll be bit by bit, but hopefully in the end, business and work will go around the family unit and not the other way around. We might be far away from that, but that's just a dream. And but for now, I believe that well-being is going to become an integral and very important part of businesses. And I feel that younger businesses with younger CEOs and founders already doing this, as well as other businesses too. But as more and more companies do it, it will just become the norm. And it will be normal to come into work and there be yoga, and for you to be able to book in with a CBT therapist. And it's the type of thing that Mamma Wellbeing is working on now, is really speaking to businesses about how important wellbeing is and how they can bring wellbeing to their teams and their staff in a way, either at home or at work itself. And more and more companies are opening up to this and are realizing that it's really important, and not only for themselves, for feeling like good leaders, and not only for the people who, the teams, but also for the business itself and for what they're creating for the company.
I hope you're right. I believe you are. And I just want to ask, you've mentioned a few times around the importance of the people who are around you. How do you ensure that you have the right people around you for your own development? And what does that look like?
Well, I guess I believe that everyone around you is right for you at the time that they're there for your development. And so, my family, I think having family around where you can, they just can teach you so much. When you think you've really got it and you think you've got there and you're doing really well, go and see your family and they will just, it was just amazing spending time with my family. And you can see, I felt myself going into my child, going into my id, So for me, for this last few months, the right thing was about being with my family and really going deeper into those shadows, into karmic shadows, into my family patterns, which have definitely been passed down to me. And they really come to surface when I'm with my family. But so when I feel really strong, the right place for me to be is around my family, around people that are going to maybe trigger me into seeing new things that I can work on. And then, but to have the people really, really close to me, like my partner, my best friends, etc. I feel that just happens with time as you start to become more and more true to yourself. You start to have more and more of the people who feel aligned near you, and the other people fall away when you've both, come to the end of the road with each other. And it doesn't mean that you won't be reunited. It just means that at that time it's not serving. And but yes, I feel like for me, having a conscious partner and having a conscious business partner are two, they're the two most incredible relationships. And I feel so honored to have them in my life, and inspired every day and excited every day to be, close with them. And but as I say, I feel like everyone that comes in my life is there for a reason. If they trigger me, they're there to show me that I can still be triggered in this specific thing. It doesn't mean that I'll have them around me all the time, because I don't have the patience for having things around me all the time that don't feel healthy. But it will be really, I'll still enjoy that moment because it will show me something that I didn't know.
So what is a conscious partner and a conscious business partner to you?
It's a depth. There's a depth to our relationship where we always want to uncover that onion, peel off the onion. It's not good enough that we're annoyed at something. No, let's go deeper. Why are we annoyed? Let's go deeper than that. Oh my goodness, I've realized that I was really projecting onto you, my feelings, which come to me definitely from something completely different to you. And I'm sorry for that. And I really noticed it. And there's that conversation which is honest and vulnerable and painful sometimes, but with this belief that there's always this kind of victory at the end, where it's like, wow, this freedom of that honesty and that vulnerability. And from that comes this incredible opening of the heart, of love, of open acceptance of yourself. And I have that relationship with both people where I feel able to go to that vulnerability. In fact, I feel encouraged to go to that vulnerability, and I feel like I've succeeded when I've found what it was that I wasn't in my highest, what I was doing, playing up about. rather than feeling the shame around it and rather than feeling, embarrassed, I feel this, wow, I saw myself and I saw that part of myself, boom. And to have that with people, it's just super special and very, very rewarding.
So there's a lot of growth that comes from that too then.
Definitely. And a lot of laughter. I mean, I can't tell you, how you can start a conversation with, it should be like this, it should be like that too. And it ends with, God, this is the most incredible situation. We've learned so much. And you leave feeling lighter and brighter, even in a situation where it might have seemed, a difficult situation in work, for example. And we start with, oh gosh, this is, and it ends with, wow, how amazing that we've been given this opportunity to learn from this situation in such a great way. And we start to see the positives. And this is an incredible thing where you're able to take something that first seems negative and transmute that into something positive and actually see the positive parts of it and actually look at it completely different. And I believe you can do that in many, if not most, situations in life. So to have those people with me, it just switches up the game really completely. And as you say, very, very helpful with self-growth.
Wow. Well, as we come towards the end of our time now, is there anything you want to share as a takeaway?
Well, I just really wanted to thank you for this conversation, because you really drew out what I feel is perhaps a deeper message of the moving from external to internal, which I had never vocalized before. And because, I feel so comfortable talking with you, I feel like I've just been chatting away. Hope I haven't been too long. But it really allowed me that freedom to get to that feeling. So, thank you really very, very much, because, I never had thought about that before. What was the biggest change? Was this moving from external and looking to external for things to change to moving internally. And I'm definitely going to be taking that away for today. So thank you very much. And thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Carmella. That's beautiful to hear. And I absolutely love the clarity of your description of moving from the external to the internal. And that resonates with me so much as well in my own journey. And I think there's a lot to reflect on around that. I think, we're told that we, to be a good person, should be focused on other people, putting other people before ourselves, and how, kindness and relationship should work, about putting yourself maybe in a secondary position. And of course, generosity and compassion and removing your ego and all of these things are super important. But I also found that it was a real process to learn how to start going inward, and that was the right thing to do, not only for myself, but therefore for everyone. It's not selfish. It's not, just removing yourself from the realities of life to kind of enter some mystical world within yourself. It's actually allowing yourself to start living, to start connecting with what life really is.
Absolutely. And from that space, when you're really in that space and you've done the work inside, giving and all the things that you've talked about before just come naturally. They're not a thing. You don't think, gosh, today I've got to give and I've got to be right nice to people. It just comes because you've looked after yourself and you feel good. And it's just there's so much excess to give outward.
Exactly. And it's comes from a much deeper place. And it's so much more organic. Oh, thank you, Carmella.
Thank you.
So just last thing then is if you can let us know where we can find you online.
Yes, we would love you to come and find us online. So our Facebook is Mamma Wellbeing, MAMMA Wellbeing. And our website is www.mammawellbeing.com. And our Instagram is also Mamma Wellbeing, I believe. So please come and see us.
Amazing. We will. Thank you, Carmella.
Thank you, Nikki.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Carmella and the first episode of Going Conscious. I found Carmella's description of how success has undergone a huge shift for her to be very powerful. How success is now about how to support other people. When we can move from success being about the individual to being about others and our connection with the wider world around us, we can start to live with so much more synergy, flow, and fulfillment. I also loved Carmella's powerful realization from our conversation, how she has moved from looking externally for things to looking internally. This is such a beautiful way of articulating her journey to her more conscious and joyful life by letting go of external pressures and expectations and working on her inner love and peace, something every human being must go through to develop themselves and the impact they make in their lives. We talked about the importance of meditation, breathwork, her life coach, and reading lots. All things that have made a huge impact on my development too. In the coming weeks, you will hear a great conversation I had with a breathworker, so subscribe and keep up to find out more about it. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe now and leave a 5-star review. It means so much more to me than you realize. Aside from podcasting, I coach and consult conscious entrepreneurs and changemakers to help them build their personal power, align with their purpose, and guide them to excel in times of transition in business and relationships. I work with one-on-one clients and run a group program too. To find out more and stay up to date on my coaching, podcasting, and inspiration, you can find me on Instagram at Nikki Trott, that's NIKKITROTT, or on my website, nikkitrott.com. I'd love to hear from you, and you can DM me on Instagram or email me through my website if you have any questions or comments, or want to find out about working with me. See you next Wednesday on the next episode of Going Conscious. And until then, live your freedom.